Hello, I'm author and founder of the Right Women Network and the Right Women Book Fest, Heather Brooks. Today I'm chatting with Alicia Dalton, who has over 20 years experience in the behavioral science health field and is a former substance abuse counselor. She's the author of I Can't Keep Calm, He Gave Me Beauty for Ashes, which is a personal account of her life's journey and how her relationship with her beliefs and faiths shaped her. Welcome and thank you for joining me this evening. I'm going to move my notes over to this other computer screen, so I will be checking those to make sure I stay on track and get all the information out there that I need. Thank you so much for coming on here and chatting with me. I'm very excited to hear about your book today. Is this your first book?
No, actually, well, first I'd like to say thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here to talk about the books. But my first book was, I co-authored a book called The Let Go, Elevate Your Destiny and Forgive. And from that, I realized I needed to keep writing. So I finally decided to do my memoir, which is I Can't Keep Calm, He Gave Me Beauty for Ashes.
Okay, forgiveness is so important. I'm really interested to hear about that book too. Maybe we could do another discussion about that with you and your co-author at some point.
I'd love to.
So tell me, one of the things that I really like to know is how that moment when you decided I have to write this book. So tell me the moment you decided that you needed to write this book and decided to sit down and share your personal stories.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I was at the end of writing The Let Go, and I kept thinking to myself, wow, there's so much more to say. And immediately the title came to me. I Can't Keep Calm, He Gave Me Beauty for Ashes. And it literally started just like that. And this is in the pandemic. So I never knew that I would be authoring one, but let alone two in a pandemic. So both of these books were published in the
Wow, that's a quick turnaround. Tell me, the other thing I always ask authors about that I find fascinating is the title. Why this title? What does this title mean to you?
The title is it's exactly what it is. I'm super excited about how God has just transformed my life. And I knew that I would give my testimony, but I always thought it would be over a pulpit, at church, testimony service or something like that. But I literally feel that way every day when I wake up. I can't keep calm. He gave me beauty for ashes. It was a simple, organic title. I had nothing to do with it. It just dropped in my spirit, just like that.
That's so nice. So were you thinking let me back up. I don't understand a lot of church structure. So were you thinking you might like to be a preacher at some point or a pastor?
No, I just have an unbelievable amount of faith. And I know that I'm where I am because of that faith. And so that's why it gets me so excited to talk about, and put my personal stories, as you say, in my book, in the memoir.
And so this faith that you have has been a guiding force in both your joys and your travails.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I was wondering when I was reading your bio, you have a very a background, a very significant background in the behavioral sciences and a health industry. And I wonder if you could tell me a little bit about that, because mental health is such a needed thing. And I think that it gets so stigmatized. And perhaps this is also a way that your beliefs and your religion and your faith sort of helped. Like, what's the chicken and the egg? Did you do first one and then the other one kind of led it, or did they just always been married together? Can you tell me how those two things feed each other?
Sure. I started in this field. I tell this story all the time, and a lot. I speak to college students, and I use that as an opportunity to tell my story about how I landed in this field in mental health. And I started in substance abuse, and I had no idea, what I was getting into. I didn't understand substance abuse. I didn't know about drugs, but I learned from my clients. I wanted a job in the field. I landed the first interview I had, I landed the job, and I said, well, this is it. I'm here for a ride and to learn. And I stayed in substance abuse for several years before I transitioned into fully mental health. But all along the way, I realized that mental health and substance abuse needs to be together, married together, treating the whole person. And my work in Michigan, I realized that we were a kind of cutting edge in that. I worked with some amazing leaders in the field, and we began in the early 90s bringing the two treatment modalities together, substance abuse and mental health, treating the whole person.
I noticed you mentioned holistic care.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe you can explain to people who don't understand what holistic care is, maybe explain a little bit about that.
Sure. The way I look at it is that you can't treat, if someone broke their arm, you can't just treat the elbow, right? You got to treat the whole thing. And so It's very similar with substance abuse and mental health. A lot of it starts with, it could be depression, and then you start using drugs and alcohol. It could be anything. And so you really need to kind of take that assessment. And that's what I did in the beginning of my work, is do full assessments of individuals to find out their history and kind of what actually brought them to my office for help. And a lot of times you find that, they've had trauma in their childhood. They've experienced trauma, seen trauma with their role models in their lives. And so it just kind of spills over into their life. And if it's not treated or addressed, then it turns into, the depression or the drug abuse. And so I've just found this field to be very fascinating and rewarding to help. But I've always been in the behavioral sciences, as you said.
I think it's the kind of work you do is wonderful. It's so needed, and I appreciate that you're out there doing that. I do think sometimes people will try to put religion in place of mental health care, and I think it's a wonderful thing that you've got both of these things going for you. Tell me what your book tells us that can help us know, like, for example, I'm not religious. Tell me what in the book, tell me who this book is for and how it can, what I might see as a person who wants to understand things beyond myself, and what people who are believers, what they can get from this book. Why you wanted to share and how it's going to help people, because it does seem like, unfortunately to everybody here, usually I try to read the whole book before I get a chance to interview somebody, but sure. Alicia and I've had some hit or misses. I have not had the ability to do that. I am going to read her book. So I just want to clear up. That's why I'm speaking from a position of not knowing the answers to these questions, which I would ask with more knowledge if I'd had a chance to read it. I just like to come into an interview knowing the whole story. But we wanted to do this interview before the end of the year. Yes. So I'm glad we're doing it. But maybe that gives us the opportunity for me to ask questions from a place of not knowing that you can give me answers to instead of me knowing.
Yeah, you asked the question, who is this for? I think this book is for anyone who needs hope, who needs inspiration, that, you may be in a rut now or be, experiencing some type of adversity, but I want people to know that there's joy on the other side of whatever you're going through. And I believe that even with the forgiveness, I've had to have a journey of forgiveness in order to get to where I am now. And so even if you don't have a religious background or you don't really recognize a higher power, I believe that reading the pages in this book will let someone see that, man, I went through that too. And there's hope for me, And I always say that never lose hope, because once you lose hope.
Yeah.
So I want people to be inspired and never lose hope. And I think that when they see my story, and I don't think my book is, a normal memoir. I don't know what normal is, but I was very strategic in how I told my story. I didn't tell everything because I wanted to talk about from my childhood all the way up until now, certain aspects to show that just the progression of how if you continue to not lose hope and have faith, you'll be inspired to get past whatever you're going through.
And this, even for people who are not necessarily religious, spirituality is a very important part of being happy, whether it's, omnipotent God, God in heaven, or whether you are more nature-based or whatever. It's, in fact, it's been shown in the blue zones. I don't know if you know what the blue zones are.
I've heard of it.
They are the places on the planet that people live the longest, and they live like into their 90s and hundreds. And one of the common threads of these groups is that they have a spirituality about them. Most of them are Christian, I believe. So we have, I think one of them is in California. It's the Seventh-day Adventists, maybe. Okay. I think. And just look up blue zones, y'all. Just look up blue zones. Spirituality is a very vital part of a happy, long life. It helps heal you, whether whether you believe it's a God healing you or whether it's the belief in the God that is healing you. What matters is I think that having people like you who tell their story and people then can relate and go, I relate to that, and this is helping me so much. And that's a really good thing to do. I mean, this is positive. Like you could put all kinds of books out there. This is a very positive way to put a book out there into the world. Was it a little scary writing your personal? I know people ask this of memoir writers all the time, because I want to write my own memoir, but I'm stalling because I just feel like I already feel vulnerable with fiction. I feel like people can see me. I don't know what it's going to be like to write a memoir. So tell me, for the writers out there who are watching this, or people who want to write memoirs, tell me a little bit about your process of how you wrote it, and also how you felt, how deep you were willing to go.
Yeah, I think my first step, once I realized I had to do it, I went to my family first, especially my oldest son and my husband. I went to them because there were a few things that they didn't know, and I didn't want them to, read it, with the world. I wanted to tell them, and I really wanted to protect my son's feelings and things like that. So we talked about it first. That was the first step for me. And both of them were very, very encouraging. And from there, I felt kind of free to move through the space. But let me tell you, it can be scary, but it also can be very therapeutic. And for someone who's worked in this field for all this time, I've never been to therapy. And a lot of people say, wow, you've been through all that. How come you never went to a therapist? Well, I was taught to have faith and keep it moving. My mother was a person, listen, we keep it moving around here, she was a tough lady. And I just modeled from her that, she had, some things that happened to her in her life. And I watched her have her faith. I watched her just plug along and just continue to be positive and faithful. And that's what I did. And I'm not knocking therapy at all. I believe in it. I've sent thousands of people to therapy. It was just not my path. So.
Yeah. And do you think that therapy might have helped you get through some of the tough parts quicker?
Maybe. Yeah. Writing the book made me really realize some of the deep things I went through. I think that I was taught to, I hate to say it, slap a scripture on it, pray about it, and you just keep moving, right? And that's what I did. And that's how I got through it. But as I wrote through, it's particularly, and I won't give it away, one particular section in the memoir, I thought, oh my God, I had such a revelation, such a light came on that showed me why I respond to things the way I do. And it was the writing that made me realize, oh my gosh, that's why I do that.
And you're having to re-traumatize yourself by going back into these situations where you had a hard time. But on the flip side, you get to relive all of the good things.
Yeah. And you mentioned about being happy. people say, people have said to me my entire life, man, you're always happy. You're always smiling. Like, and I thought, is that a bad thing? I used to start thinking, is this bad? But I just count it all joy. I just try to keep joyful in everything. I try to find the good in everything, and sometimes to a fault.
Well, in the long run, I think that that's going to make you a happier person. Even, they say that fake it till you make it, but I think that sometimes accepting or forgiving can get you there to a happier space. I mean, I think everybody has some kind of trauma. Some people have been luckier than other people not to have severe trauma.
Absolutely.
But I think that it's interesting that it's my husband always says the cobbler's child always goes shoeless. It's like when you're the person making the shoes, you don't have time for your own fixed shoes.
Goodness.
so you're into the behavioral health, but I think too, when you're in something, a lot of times you don't feel like the mechanisms to make things better, so you don't think you necessarily need the help. But then when you go back over, you're like, I probably could use a little help there. So tell me, is this book, and I can't wait to read it. Even like I said, even though I'm not religious, I love to read all kinds of books, and just for people who want to be involved with the Right Women Book Fest or the Right Women Network, we have all kinds of authors, Christian, non-Christian. So it's a very open, welcome space. I like to read all kinds because I like to know what other people are going through. I like to know what their lives are like and look at things from another view. And I think it's especially nice if that person can also say something revealing and help others through things. It sounds like you're helping people. I mean, this book is going to help people, it sounds like, because you're being bare to the world about what you did. So tell me a little bit. We didn't get to the part where you tell me how you wrote, besides telling your husband and your son first, which I think is a great idea if you're going to be telling secrets. Are you okay? You look emotional.
No, not emotional. These glasses were weird, so I said, I'm going to take them off.
Okay. Then, so after you did that, tell me, I can talk forever. So I'm just going to stop myself and say, tell me, because I get excited. I get excited of talking to other women, especially, but tell me about after that point, what you did next and how you got from the point of talking to them, getting this down, and then publishing it. Tell me about that process for the women out here who want to write.
I had such a wonky writing schedule. It was so weird. But I would have to say that even before I actually started sitting down for the memoir, there was a gradual thing happening, and I didn't realize what it was going to end up in, to be a memoir. But I was a part of a documentary called Women of Hope, Coping with Trauma. And it was basically 5 women. We were interviewed about how we took our faith to cope with our trauma. And it was such a powerful experience. And I saw that documentary, it was helping so many people. And I think so at this point, it's gotten maybe 6 or 7 awards in folk festivals. And so doing that kind of catapulted me into just this whole process of beginning to tell my story. And then I volunteered for this organization in California to help children get through traumatic experiences. And I would write talking points for that. And even maybe before that, I wrote like a small blog for someone. It was such a gradual, and I said, okay, I put all these little pieces together, and then I just kept writing. And, the person I wrote with, the publisher and editor, she said, we're going to go live, or we're going to, go, this is our date, and she gave me a date, and I thought that date just kept knocking. I was like, oh boy, let me sit down and write. And I
deadline.
I had to write when I felt it. So it could be in the middle of the night. It could have been, in the car, and I'm taking my phone and I'm like talking in it, but it was never a regular schedule. I somehow made it. I don't know how I made it, on time. We did have one hiccup, and to not tell the whole story, but my father gotten sick and he ended up passing away.
Oh,
and I said,
sorry.
I don't want to write right now.
Yeah.
And so it delayed the project for 2 months. But I was happy that I told him I was writing it, and he's like, way to go, but I did want him to read my story because there was a lot in there he didn't know about. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about your father. That's tough. You're going to have to write another memoir just about the times from when you started writing the last memoir.
Yeah.
Now. I mean, you think you crammed a lot into a couple of years.
I did. And I thought today, I was thinking, wow, I should have put that in there. And then my cousin called and he's like, how come you didn't put such and such? I was like, I know I did leave out, and maybe it's because I'm a newbie. I did leave out some things, but I still stand that I was very intentional about what I shared. So
well, you can always write another one too. I mean, you can go back and fill in the blanks. What is next for you? What other books do you have in you? Are you going to be doing any? Is it going to be another memoir or a help book, or not? You're going to do some fiction?
So it's funny you asked that. I thought I was done, but no, I'm not. So the goal is to write a children's book about forgiveness.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. But before that, my family and I are writing a family cookbook. And so that's in draft form now. We're zhuzhing it up, and my husband's involved. Like everybody in the family has these recipes. So we're compiling them, and that's next. And then I think I'll do the children's book. So
I love all of that. It sounds like you've got a book for everybody.
I'm trying.
You're going to have to do some like Christian romance or something just to get a little some fiction in there. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. I like it.
It's a whole thing. Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to have those, options out there, and to have there are all different kinds of stories out there, all different kinds of people. So we can look forward to the cookbook and to the children's book. We would love to have you back on here to talk about those once those are ready. I think a book about forgiveness for children is perfect. I mean,
thank you.
I think it's hard to forgive. It's also hard to be not selfish when you're that little, like some people are naturally inclined to not be selfish. But I think those two things, something about selfishness and forgiveness kind of go together.
Yes, it does.
So, I mean, that's just mother's intuition. I don't have a behavioral science degree, but that's just mother's intuition on that one. But
you're right. You're right. It's very true.
I think that sounds wonderful. I can't wait to see that. And hopefully you'll have it done before the next book fest, because I hope that you'll be at the book fest next year.
Oh yeah, I want to be there.
So tell me, both of these books, I know you're on here to talk about your current book, I Can't Keep Calm, but tell us where you can order and how to get a hold of I Can't Keep Calm, and what is the name of the forgiveness book?
It's the Let Go, Elevate Your Destiny, and Forgive. And they're both on Amazon.
Okay. And we'll put links. I'll put links in the information underneath the video, which this will be on our YouTube. And then I will also post it on our Facebook page from YouTube. And if whatever links that we have, we'll provide. Please, go check out her books. And I hope to have you come back and talk about the forgiveness book. I'm going to call it the forgiveness book.
I like
and
that.
then the one for the children too. Yes. And tell me where people can find you online.
Yes. So I am on Instagram, and the handle is Sweet Sations on Instagram. And I have a coffee house blog on WordPress, and also on Facebook, Sweet Sations for You. Okay. And again, I will put those in the information. I don't want to call it a bio, because it's not really a bio, but that little wall of place that you could put stuff in the YouTube informational area. So I need to figure out what that's called. I never know. I always do this. I stumble over what to call that section where you put all the information under you. Information section. The information section. There we go. See, you're a problem solver.
And I really enjoyed this chat, and I'm so glad to have you as a member. That she's a Marylander, everybody. So I'm glad to have her as a Maryland neighbor. I'm a Marylander. We're both in Prince George's County.
Yes.
And in fact, the Right Women Network is in, and the Right Women Book Fest is in Prince George's County. So
I love it. Yeah.
I'm really happy to, Prince George's County is wonderful. The library system's fantastic.
Oh, I love it.
I love it here. And I live in Laurel right now. I love Laurel. And I just think Prince George's County has everything. It really does.
I love the libraries. My daughters and I lived in the libraries. Oh my God. We would rent rooms and we would go and do our homework. I would do my work and, and December 11th, I'm super excited because I'm doing a book signing in Prince George's County at PJ's Coffee in Bowie. So
okay,
that's going to
be. Send me the information graphic on that, and I will share it on our social media. That would be lovely.
Thank you.
That's the thing about Prince George's County. It's a big county, but it's got that small town feel to it. It's like so many people know each other. We have a wonderful arts community. Like I said, the library system's amazing. We have all kinds of services and programs. It's just a great place. And I'm happy to be a part of the community.
Parks and Recs is amazing.
The what?
Yep. The Parks and Recs.
Park and Recs. Yes, we had Marietta House is where we had our book festival, but there are a lot of parklands and stuff in Maryland. We're very lucky. And I just want to say before I go that I'm doing this under the umbrella of the Right Women Network, which is also part of the Right Women Book Fest. It is a organization for women, femme-identifying, non-binary authors and publishing professionals. And they're all invited to join the Right Women Network private Facebook group. You have to look for it because it's private, and it's a safe space for creatives to meet, talk about projects, announce their book signings, their readings. Some people found mentors and editors in there. It's a space for authors and publishing professionals to meet each other. And even just sharing funny writing memes. It's just a nice loungy place to chill. And in fact, I'm working on a series of salons like in workshops and meetings and chats. If you're a woman author, publishing professional, book blogger, vlogger, influencer, please follow the Right Women Book Fest online. I'll put that information in the information section of the YouTube. And I'm Heather Brooks, also known as HL Brooks. And you can find me at HL Brooks on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. That's at HL Brooks, and I'll put that down there too. Thank you again, Alicia Dalton, author, behavioral scientist, and all around interesting Marylander. So thank you so much for thank you so much for coming to have a chat with me, and we look forward to your future projects.
Thank you so much. This has been super fun.